The Me&Him podcast. All right, you're back again at the Me&Him podcast. It's me, Jason, and my dad, Matt, and we've got another special guest joining us this episode. Welcome, please. Everyone put their hands together. Master John Tooby.
Hey, guys. Thank you very much. It's an honor to be a part of it. And, looking forward to it.
Well, John, I've been wanting to have you on for so long, and you're a busy man, and you're in Thailand a lot, and
didn't offer enough money, mate. That's the problem.
I had to wait for the cheap slot to come around that I could afford. But look, so John, we've been friends for some time, probably. To be honest,
2000.
Oh God, okay, 25 years. And we've had some gaps in that and everything, but we've, over the recent years, the last sort of 5+ years, we've really formed even a stronger bond, I think. And you're such an interesting guy. We've got such an interesting backstory of how I first met you, and you didn't even know that I knew who you were at that point. This is going back way to the DCM days. And then, coming through to today. And Dad, you have actually met John before when you were in Sydney after I had a car crash, and you came up to actually help me get another car, and John was there too because John was helping me out. So you two, that my dad and Mr. John here, Master John, my good mate, are both men I love, both men that have helped me out and have gone and really just sacrificed for me. And so I'm really grateful to have you both here.
Happy to be here, mate.
It's spontaneous. We can see you're constantly in need, so we've got to be there to help you.
It's a big job, isn't it?
Charity
Absolutely.
Case. Oh, God. Yeah, I know. All the guests that we've had on have actually been supporting me through my difficult life. Oh, man. But, John, look, maybe just to cast back a little bit, set the stage, tell us a little bit about your childhood, mate, because you're currently running a very successful martial arts school, camp, or you do a bit of everything, don't you? You also do camps to Thailand.
Camps to Thailand, yes. And martial arts school, it's actually next month, it's 35 years old.
Wow. So
I opened it in 1990, and it's been running full-time consistently ever since. So one of the first full-time dojos in Australia, and still going. So, very proud and very happy with that.
John, do you target a particular age group, or is it all ages?
3, and my oldest student is 71.
Yeah, all ages.
Oh, okay. That young.
That young.
The wound market's actually growing now too, so you can even go back.
The what market?
The womb market. You start training them in the womb.
Oh, yeah, videos.
So that's what you're doing now, but you've also own nightclubs, restaurants. This is where you and Dad have a fair bit in common. So you've got a really interesting, you've got a very strong entrepreneurial streak, no doubt, and you've got a strong commitment to martial arts. Take us back, if you don't mind, just to set the scene for Dad too. Where did you grow up? How did you get to where you are now, if that's not too big an ask?
Well, let me just try and give you a quick, short version. Yeah, look, born in Sydney, at a certain age, my mother left when I was 2. So just my dad, my younger brother and sister, they were newborns, and she left us, and we lived in a station wagon for 6 months.
Wow,
I didn't know that.
Yeah, so it was a tough gig, and Dad was a baker, so he'd park the car in the parking lot out the back of the bakery and run out every 10 or 15 minutes, changing nappies and checking on the babies,
Wow.
So bit of a struggle,
dude.
Yeah, no, he had it tough, and that sort of type of lifestyle would drive you to drink, and so Dad was a bad alcoholic there for quite a while. We got a housing commission house out at Cranebrook, Mount Pleasant in Penrith. Being that pauper kid who they always called me, and we had if we wanted new clothes, we had to go to St Vincent de Paul, and Dad would drink and gamble all the money away. Not that he had any. So my brother and I, 9 and 10 years of age, we used to go out working, mowing lawns, washing cars, and collecting bottles out of garbage bins, that sort of thing.
That's got to be a driver, isn't it? Like you just want to be able to have some control and bring some money in.
Well, bring some money in, so A, we could eat, and B, that we didn't get flogged for not bringing any money in.
Okay.
So Dad, when he drank, could be quite violent. When he was sober, fantastic. Kept us all together. I had a younger brother and sister. They were twins. But look, I think that, feeling different from everybody else in school that had 2 parents and, new clothes and all that sort of thing, not having to work on, I never had friends over. I didn't go to any friends' houses. We were working after school and every weekend, either mowing lawns, washing cars, and we had an old lawnmower that was clapped out. And I used to put bushland dishwashing liquid into an empty car wash bottle, so people thought I was using good car wash on their cars, and I was actually using stuff that had stripped their paint off. It was terrible, and they didn't know it. And we charged 50 cents to and we're going back 50 years, so we would charge 50 cents to to wash a car and $1.50 to mow a lawn.
Wow!
But look, it worked. We ate sometimes once every 2 days. Sometimes we're lucky enough to eat once a day. But always looking for something to make me feel worthwhile. I had a dream of being a businessman, just like people on television. That I would grow up and be a businessman. So I looked at that was my dream, and always been that weakest kid. Always getting picked on for being poor and, living in houso and that sort of thing. Even back then, it sort of like had a bit of a reputation in school. So one of the things that I actually started boxing. My dad was a boxer, so I started doing a little bit of boxing. And then I watched a Bruce Lee movie called Enter the Dragon.
What a classic.
And I thought to myself, wow, this is it.
Inspired.
And so, 1 week later, I was doing Kung Fu, and here we are. Well, that was 1978. So here we are all these years later, and I'm still going. Wow,
that's. Thank you for sharing that, John, because we've had many conversations, and I know a lot about shared a little bit about your background. Never mentioned that about the station wagon and your dad in that situation. Oh,
well, I was only 2, so I don't remember it being. But I know that's how we were, and then into renting some really bad places, and then getting into finally getting a housing commission. I think I was 12 at that time, and moving out to Penrith, and I went to Punchbowl Boys while we were living in Campsie, and then out to Penrith High School. But I really didn't go to much of year 10. I was working, and I took time off. I was working for Waltons at the time, and I took time off to run up to the school and pick up my school certificate, and then run back to work. I know usual life. People would say that it was a tough gig, but I firmly believe that it made me who I am today. Yeah.
John, may I ask you a question?
Sure, man.
You talked about your dad being drunk, and that's a common circumstance. I had a drunk dad at times. And you talked about him being violent. My question is, violent towards whom?
Me.
So he'd beat his kids?
Of course. Look, if he was drunk and we didn't behave ourselves, we copped the flogging, we copped the belt. If we went out for the day, my brother and I, and we came back, it was a rain day, we hadn't made any money, he would accuse us of playing games in the park, and we didn't really work, and he'd give us a hiding for that. So there were times when...
That's a pretty negative role model.
Yeah, I think as a kid I was just doing my best to survive, and I didn't know any different. I don't know if you remember the old days when you put the milk bottles out and you put the little yellow envelope on top with the cash in it for the milkman.
Yeah.
There were nights when we didn't make money. We were so scared to go home, we'd wait until dark and steal some of those yellow envelopes so that we could get home and not get a flogging. It was, but that's life, right?
That's survival.
That is survival.
And people have got it a lot worse. I've traveled, the Philippines, Thailand, I still had a roof over the head, and I had my brother, and that we used to sort of lean on each other a little bit there. I mean, look, at the end of the day, these are experiences in life, and we can sit back and go, hey, I had it tough, and the world owes me a living, or we can go, look, it's a good lesson in life not to be like, and to use that as a fire to drive you forward to achieve more than what you had, if that makes sense, and to have a role model of what not to be, not just what to be. Could it have been better? 100%. But at the end of the day, I probably wouldn't be sitting here with you guys today if it was any different.
You don't spend a lot of time ruminating on all that stuff, right?
Not at all.
It is part of, you accept it. It's part of who you are. You've learned lessons from it. It's given you...
Made mistakes because of, lack of, proper education. And my dad said, you're not going to school today, you're going out to work. And but at the end of the day... you make mistakes and you move forward. You can't live in the past.
No. Oh, wow. Well, that's painted. What I'm sensing from what you've shared there is just this determination to make sure you're okay, to survive with a fire, to not just survive for yourself, but to survive for your brother, survive for others, And I've seen that generosity of spirit. You've given me more than you realize, not just time, but where I've needed help. You even came and picked me up after I crashed my car that time when I was really stuck for anywhere to go. You know, you have a very generous aspect in life, considering that your driver might be to make sure that, you know, you can get food and you can eat today. You make sure other people eat as well, from what I've seen, mate.
You know, at the end of the day, look, and getting involved in the nightclub business and being a partner in a pub and having a restaurant, 2 restaurants and things like that. And there have been times when I've made a lot of money and times when I've lost a lot of money and had nothing. But you get to a point in time in life when you realize that if I go tomorrow, Jason, you're not going to be telling people how nice my car was and how lovely my home was. You're going to be saying about the time I picked you up that night, the time that we spent talking about American politics. So it's the quality of life you have with those around you.
Yes.
There's no point eating if the person next to you is not eating. There's no point, you know. So we're a sum. Our life is a sum of the experiences we have with the people we love.
Oh,
that's what's important. And no one cares about. The wonderful thing about karate is, and we all wear the same uniform. People go, why do you wear a uniform? No one's ever asked me, and I've never asked a student, what suburb do you live in? What sort of car does your father drive? What sort of car do you have? How much money do you make? We don't care. In the what we call a dojo, you're respected for your work ethic, your character, your personality. It's not a fashion parade. We all wear the same thing. We're on an individual journey. We all do it for different reasons, some self-defense, some fitness, some confidence, whatever. We're on an individual journey, but we're moving forward together, supporting each other. And that's one of the things that attracted me to karate. No one asked me, you know, no one recognized me as the poor kid with the secondhand clothes.
Didn't matter you were from the commission. Didn't matter, just mattered how hard you worked. You showed up every day on time, right attitude.
Work ethic and attitude. And then I found love and respect through the martial arts that way. And, you know, I found a group of people who didn't judge, you know, that respected you as a person, as a human. And that really, at the end of the day, that's all we really want. We want to be needed, respected, and loved.
Well,
and that's what martial arts is all about.
Yeah. Well, that's perfect segue, because that's where I want to go now. You have taught me a lot about sort of discipline, not that I practice it all the time, but in terms of mental self-discipline and in being around you, hearing your stories, seeing how you operate and carry yourself, seeing what you do for others with the school and the kids. I wanted to dedicate the next section to talk about this discipline around not just self-defense, physical, but you'd mentioned about emotional self-defense too, and mental self-defense. So you happy to dig into that?
Absolutely.
All right, Dad, you ready?
Well, I have one comment.
What's that?
Doing your best for others is the measure of a man.
I agree.
I love it.
Well said.
Let's pick that up on the other side of this break. The Me&Him podcast. John, I hadn't really thought about the uniform of martial arts or karate in this instance, and how it's a great equalizer, and how important that was for you to be just have that level playing field and be able to just stand your own on your work ethic and your focus and all of that stuff. So I'd love to explore that a little bit further with you, from you starting to do karate, for you moving up the ranks, and now you're known as sort of Master John, right? Like you've got some esteem in what are you, is it 5th Dan?
8th Dan.
8th Dan in Muay Thai, was it? Or karate?
Karate and an Ajahn in Muay Thai, which means like master of Muay Thai, master teacher.
Okay.
And a Hall of Famer. So that's where you get recognized by your peers for dedication and commitment to the industry and achievement. So very, very lucky, you know, that I've had the opportunity.
Well, take us back to when you started to fight and compete, and what was your life like? What were you doing? You know, I'm just interested in building that picture out a little bit of how you surged forward in those formative, I guess, teenage, young adult years.
Right. So like, you know, I because I was working part-time in Walton's, I don't know if you know, Jerry Harvey owned it back then, and before Harvey.
I remember the name. Yeah.
So Walton's, so a bit of retail experience there. And I was working mowing lawns and washing cars still when I wasn't there. And then, you know, I left I left school, and Dad had said to me, you're going to go straight on the dole, and I wouldn't do that. So I went riding my push bike around, and I got a job as a brickies labourer when they were building a new suburb out at Mount Pleasant in Penrith. And I stayed on that job for one house and realised this is not me, And then I actually was looking in the newspaper and got a job working for Ruben F. Scarf selling menswear. But I started as a stock boy, 16-year-old stock boy, worked my way up to a 19-year-old manager, company executive, and then I had 3 shops. And while I was doing that, I was, practicing karate and teaching karate. Yeah, just, karate is what I wanted to do. But unfortunately, Dad was charging me, $50 a week board back then at 16. And if I didn't pay it, I had to get out. And so I needed that job while I practiced karate. But I would train 2 hours in the morning before work and 2 hours every afternoon after work. So I, put the effort in so that I could be, at 13, I said, I'm going to be a full-time professional karate instructor. And at 27, I left all work, and that's what I was, yeah. So
that's remarkable discipline. Most people don't have that, myself included.
I never considered it to be disciplined or to be different. I just considered it just a way of doing things and surviving. I didn't know that anyone was, I thought if that's what you want to do, you just go out and do it.
Do the hard yards.
Yeah, I just didn't know any different other than if I want something, I want to eat, or I've got to work for it.
Go mow some lawns. Yeah.
Go mow some lawns, man, and knock on doors and, can I mow your lawn? Can I wash your car? And,
wow. That's almost like an immigrant story, just that drive to succeed and do the thing that others aren't prepared to do or don't want to do.
Yeah. I never thought of it like that. I mean, I'm going to be straight and honest with you. I didn't even consider anything other than I need to eat,
just
survive.
Had to be done. Yes.
And if I got to keep Dad happy, I need to bring money home, right? So that, I could, I didn't have to worry about the belt. It was motivational stick.
Not much carrot going around at your place.
Oh, mate, I got to tell you, and I did not like that stick. So I was motivated not to be on the receiving end,
John, I have a question to ask you.
Sure.
And I'll give you a bit of background. In the 70s, for various reasons, I studied Eastern religions. Now I know that my life has actually been a quest for meaning, but my understanding of many of those religions is they have a fighting discipline which can be channeled into saving the culture if it's a threat by an enemy, or can be channeled into a higher level of spiritual awareness. Is this the case with karate?
Yeah, look, I think that all real martial arts, especially traditional ones, develop the 3 elements. So we've got the body, the mind, and the spirit.
Mm-hmm.
So you build the body up to turn it into a weapon, not necessarily just for fighting, but you condition it. You make it stronger physically.
You can handle life better.
You can handle life better. Then mentally, the mind, you fill it full of knowledge, how to guide those weapons, right? How to throw particular techniques, how to get your body moving the way it should move. And then the spirit, that's the decision-making part of the person, the character you develop through the mental and physical training. The discipline that's required to forge the body into a weapon, to commit mentally. So for me, for example, every Friday night, all my friends went to the local pub. I didn't get involved in that. I went training first and then went after. So the discipline, not to do the party thing, but to stick with what you're doing. So you develop that mental toughness, and then you develop the character with those 2 things and the decision-making part of the person. You develop a strong spirit. You make good decisions or bad decisions with that wisdom, which we call spirit, to guide the weapons, both mentally and physically, that you forged. Does that make sense?
Yes, it does. You're talking about weapons. They can also be used for defensive purposes.
Correct.
Against a threat from outside to counter it.
Yes. But you need to build that strength.
Yeah, of course you do.
To be able to defend. The ultimate, sometimes the best defense is offense, sometimes. But when we're talking about real defense physically, you have to have the skill to fight so that you have the self-belief and confidence not to.
That you don't have to fight because they
Yes.
No
pick up
ego.
that you know you can fight.
Yes.
That's right. So
Wow.
you have enough self-belief that you don't care what they think, that you have the strength
There's
to
no fear. Well, there's limited fear.
to talk them out of it or
Yes.
to walk away. It's that ego, the fear, the non-belief in yourself that makes you say, I'm going to smash this guy so my mates think I'm tough.
Right.
So not worrying about what your mates think or what anyone else thinks, that's the point you want to get to, where you have, I don't care what anyone else thinks in life. I do what I want to do in life without worrying about what will he think if I do that or what will she think if I do that. And it's a good point in life to be in, where you make decisions and live your life without the fear of what others will think of you.
Oh, not many people achieve that.
In short, it's being grounded. Grounded in yourself, grounded in your sense of community and your awareness. And funny enough, and this is getting a bit esoteric, but potential adversaries can kind of smell it and they'll leave you alone without the need for any conflict.
Yeah. Well, let me just, can I elaborate on that?
You please.
Yes, please.
So you've got, let's talk about criminals. Criminals look for the path of least resistance. They'll steal, they'll rob, so they don't have to work to earn. They'll take yours. So being a criminal, they'll look for the calf to cut away from the herd. They won't tackle the bull.
Correct.
They know that the calf is going to be an easy target. So if
predator
you're walking
prey
with
sort of thing.
if you're walking with your head down, if you're walking without confidence, if you're looking like you're a little bit of a victim, you're more likely to become a victim.
They've actually just got a study out on that scientifically proves that. They studied a bunch of criminals and they asked who would you pick on the street to rob or mug or what have you, and it was all those qualities you just mentioned. It was a certain gait. It was a certain, stooping of the shoulders. It was a nervous glance.
Yeah.
So yes, you're right. The body cues. It's the weak.
They look for weakness.
Showing weakness.
They look for weakness and they try and capitalize on that.
There were studies decades ago that did the same thing. And funnily enough, one of the potential targets that the criminals could identify in the visual display was a weak little old lady. Another one was a big, strong man with lots of muscles. And they said, him, because of what you just described, his gait, his sense of lack of self-confidence. And the little old lady was just left alone. And it wasn't because she was a little old lady and they respected little old ladies. I mean, these were professionals who would hit anyone.
Well, let me tell you that martial arts, I don't know if you've ever heard of the term Zen before.
Yes. Of course.
Okay, so Zen practice is a path of self-discovery. So through proper martial arts training, you learn a lot about yourself, that you can be lazy and, what can you do to alleviate some of the things that will hold you back. And you push through to get that training done anyway. But we have to understand that we are all the same, but different. So we all feel the same things: love, hate, stress, anxiety, happiness, sorrow, fear. These are all emotions that are common to every human being.
Absolutely.
But brought on at different points of time in our life by different circumstances. But nonetheless, the emotion and the energy that gives off is identical. So through proper martial art training, and you understand yourself, how you act, how you move, how you stand, what energy you give off when you're feeling fearful, when you're happy, when you're sad, all these things. If you truly understand how you are in those situations, you can smell it, feel it, and understand another person standing in front of you.
Wow. So what more insight you get into yourself, the more sensitive
You know
you
all
become,
people.
you know everyone.
Yes.
Of course.
Wow.
If you listen to the lessons, and if you're having a conversation with somebody, whether it be a verbal argument or it could turn physical. So when I bounced for 30 years.
I wanted to touch on this. I hope you're going there.
Right. So I could virtually with the body language and a few words, understand where this could be going, what I can say to either de-escalate it or escalate it. If I could take time and defuse the situation, Or if there's nothing I can't diffuse it, I'm just going to have to end this physically right now.
Mm-hmm.
And so it gives you options, but it also helps you prepare and put yourself in a position of strength and superiority when it comes to tactics.
Yeah.
If you're coming into combat or about to enter into combat, if you can avoid it, obviously.
You're able to stay above it, I imagine? Like you've got
Not
perspective?
necessarily, because you still have all those emotions that run through you as well. Adrenaline's pumping.
Mm-hmm.
Sometimes your ego gets involved. Somebody says the wrong thing and you just want to knock them out. Okay. And you get to a point where you go, you know what, I'm just going to, wishka this guy. But you have the option to control that. And I think the more you understand about yourself through proper martial art training, then the more you can understand other people. You have understanding and empathy. And then if you're intelligent enough, you have the ability to, through your words, de-escalate, or if it's your choice, to escalate.
Can I just jump in here? You've got to tell this story. This is what I've been hoping that you'd share. So let me just start by saying, back in the day, I was part of the Sydney club scene. I worked the clubs. I knew people who ran the clubs.
You were a big part of it. Yeah, that's right.
Yeah. And so there was Oxford Street in Sydney was alive. Darlinghurst was alive. Big queues out the doors, all that sort of stuff. And the super club in the Southern Hemisphere at the time was Don't Cry Mama, DCM. And DCM, so people would come from far and wide, a lot from overseas, but certainly a huge local contingent. And that was the club with the mirror balls and the drag shows. And it was just... It was crazy, and the music, always the best DJs. So the door on that place was the guys were all muscled up, oiled up. The women are wearing like just basically thongs to go in. It was very much a spectacle for the eyes. But the door on that had to be so strict. And Dad, when I first met John, I didn't know it was John at the time. There's this one guy, kind of bald guy, just standing there, just in the side, arms folded, couple of big Tongan bouncers or some big burly dudes there. And they'd be looking at him and he'd be sort of like, just winking, nodding, looking around. And he'd be doing this till what, 5 in the morning, 6 in the morning, like 10 in the morning?
Yeah, we started at 10 and we'd go until, 9, 10 a.m. the next morning, 12 hours, yeah.
And there would be 30, 40, 50 people still waiting.
In the lineup at 6 a.m., yeah.
Somehow, sometimes in freezing cold conditions, still in almost no clothes, so I don't know what they were up. But anyway, the point I wanted to get to here, so I met you and I saw you and you must have taken a bit of, mercy on me because you let me in. I knew Sue and a couple of people out there anyway. Yep. But then you told me when we reconnected again later about the guy who pulled up with a shotgun. And right. I'd love to, if you could share that story because, I think it was written up at the time that, that was quite a bit of a news piece that there would been someone who was threatening. And I know there'd been drive-bys and a few things, but that particular story, do you know what I'm talking about?
Was that the one where, it was somebody was looking, looking for bikies and that sort of thing? Yeah,
well, when you
that was actually Chevy's in Campbelltown.
Oh, that was Chevy's? Oh, when he came through. Okay. Well, the point I wanted to get to was you just talked about mental toughness and sort of tactics and being able to. You told me at one point, and you give all the color on the story, but that the two big guys took off, and you're the one left there.
Right. Yeah, that was somebody had dropped the gun out of their overcoat and took off. That's right. That's another. Yeah. We had a fellow that we wouldn't let in and he's gone away and he's come back. And I said, heads up, guys, this guy's back again. And out of he had a long leather jacket on. He dropped it would be a sawn off rifle, I would imagine. He dropped it out of his sleeve. And, he looked at me and he said, what about now, motherfucker? If I can say that. Sorry, guys. Yeah. I'm coming in and I said, look, mate, do what you got to do, man.
But we're old enough,
Every other doorman just left. And I was on my own, and I said,
"They took off up the stairs.
Do what you got to do, but you're not coming in." I said, "Look at that camera and that camera because you're going to jail for life, brother." And he ran off. And I went and sat in the toilet for a while.
John, that story
I'm not joking.
No, that story is about mental toughness.
Oh, totally.
Stupidity.
Because I ran a big pub, the biggest pub in New Zealand at the time. And there was one night where we didn't have a bouncer on the door. And I noticed that, and it was a very busy night because on a busy night, we'd have 2,000 people. It was a big pub.
DCM was the same, yeah.
And I put myself on the door because I was the manager. It's my responsibility. It was no one else. And something very similar happened. It didn't involve a firearm, but I got blindsided and hit by someone. I fell down on the ground. My lip was cut with my teeth, and they ran away.
Mm.
And we called the cops, and they were found in another pub. And one of the cops rang me and said, "Look, it's okay. We found them." And unfortunately, the guy who hit you ran into a police baton. I don't know how it happened. It must be an accident.
They were good back then, the police.
Oh yeah, it's called natural justice.
That's right. There's been plenty of that.
If you're mentally tough, you don't think about it. You put yourself in that situation to protect others.
Yeah, look, I couldn't let him in. There's no way in the world, and I was paid not to. Mm. Having said that, at that time, I did what I did. And like all occasions like that, you do what you have to do, and you don't back down. That can be stubbornness. That can be a little bit of ego, all those things. But definitely afterwards, you have to handle that emotional disturbance of what did I just do and why did I do that?
What could have happened
for $30 an hour? And that goes through your head as well. But I always carried in the car. A spare pair of jeans, a spare work shirt in case I got blood on it, and spare underpants in case you pooped your pants. It's and beyond no illusion, if you've had a bad Thai meal and you run into the toilet every 10 minutes and you get into a bit of a scuffle on the front door, you're going to need to change your pants. It's coming out. And any doorman that says that sort of thing doesn't happen, and you don't basically shit yourself, I think hasn't had the real experience.
Yeah.
John, what you're saying resonates with me in a completely different category.
Yeah. No, we're not going there right now.
Because of your age.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Because of just surgeries he's had.
And the operation for prostate cancer.
Yeah.
Oh, well, there you go.
Yeah,
right.
He's got excuses.
So I can really relate to that.
So just wanted to revisit that for a second, because I'm thinking about your mindset. And when a guy comes and he pulls, there's a sawn-off shotgun under his leather jacket arm or whatever, and the other guys disappear, you're left standing there. What you told me once that you feel the fear, you just override it, and then you had the presence of mind to say, "Hey, there's cameras here, bud. You're going to go jail the rest of your life if you make a
Yeah, so just look at that camera and that camera. Look, I don't know why, mate. I'm going to be honest. But it's like, you get into the ring to have a fight. You're in the change room, you're getting ready, you're warming up, you're hitting the pads a little bit, and then you got your music on, you go into the ring and everyone's yelling and screaming, you get in there and the other guy's going to tear your head off, and you've got to have presence of mind, you've got to do what you've got to do. I think that, when I fought through the 80s, that helped me as a doorman in the 90s, if that makes sense. Developing with any martial art, you have to develop the willingness to engage your enemy in combat. Whether you do or not, you have to be willing to have to step up. And then you can demonstrate that courage and deal with the aftermath later. I was very, very glad. You can't beat a bullet. There's no way in the world. But I thought if he was really serious afterwards, if he's really serious, he would have just walked by or drive by and
shot.
He wouldn't have come and, what are you going to do now, brother?
Yeah. Right.
And he's just trying to,
promote himself and
trying to push his weight around.
John, we were talking about that a little bit earlier in this section. The way criminals assess the situation. In your circumstance, the big Tongans disappeared at 100 miles an hour, but you stood your ground. Now, he did
they weren't Tongans, but big boys, yeah.
So that was me.
He did not expect someone who didn't look like a bouncer to stand there and look him in the eye when the gun had fallen down, which is whether it's on the floor or not, it's an object of menace, and he would have been reevaluating inside himself, thinking, "Holy moly! Hang on a minute, what is this dude?"
Yeah, do the unexpected. He wasn't expecting that response.
Yeah,
he was expecting me to comply and shit myself, and
Yeah.
I don't think, what was he going to do? I don't think he thought
he
it
hadn't
out.
thought he hadn't thought about that bit.
He's not going to get in there with that. And what's he going to do once he gets in? We're going to call the police. I think it's just their anger, their inability to, certain people, inability to rationalize behavior. And he was embarrassed that he got refused, and he just couldn't deal with that. Personally, you get knocked.
And he scuttled off.
Yeah. You get knocked back from a nightclub. I go, okay, no problems. I'll go to the next door and see if I can get in there. I've never, I could never comprehend why it was such a big deal that yeah.
Yeah, that's right.
Didn't cut the mustard,
I think it's saving face, reputations, mates had got in. There was something about, it was a status symbol getting in there, and he's not good enough if he didn't. But yeah, not with John around. All right, well, we've explored that topic. I love it. There are so many more things I'd like to chat to you before we finish up today. So, are you happy for us to broach a couple of other topics?
Absolutely, man. I'm really enjoying it. It's great. Good conversation with two good men.
Oh, I hear you. Flattery will get you everywhere.
Hey, there we go, Dad. That's a compliment.
That's what I thought. I'm looking at, yes.
Oh, everywhere. Yes, definitely, sir. The Me&Him podcast.
During the break, we were talking about age and the effect on you mentally as well as physically. And the best way I can articulate it is my current description of myself is a clued up 45-year-old who was a Superman.
He's dreaming. Yeah.
Locked inside a World War I Centurion tank which doesn't function. And he's looking through the bombs or the missile sites as opposed to looking above
escape
him.
hatch.
Where there's a hatch that he can open and he can escape from the prison.
You're stuck there. Yeah, look, Matt, I totally understand. We spoke earlier about being, courageous and brave with dealing with confrontation. But definitely now that, I'm 60, I wouldn't want to do that. I don't think I've got the balls to do that sort of thing anymore. And during the 80s, I fought. I had 48 fights. You're young and strong.
Professional bouts?
Oh, not professional. No, always an amateur. But I wouldn't, I fought in the US. I fought in Thailand. I fought here. I wouldn't want to do that today. Obviously, the body is not, up to, especially after having some health issues. The body's not up to it. And the mind wouldn't be up to that sort of combat as well. But as we age, I think that we have to understand that it's a privilege denied to many. And if we get an opportunity to experience growing old and, being around the people that we love, I think it's a great opportunity. But there are certain things we can do as a martial artist, coming from me, to increase our health and longevity as we age. And I always say there are two things, in martial arts. There's health, which is mental, and fitness, which is physical.
Interesting.
So there are two different...
So a lot of people look at health as physical.
Yes. You can be physically fit, like a bodybuilder, for example, and taking all the supplements that go along with building massive muscles. But a lot of them do it so they look good at the pub on Friday night. So they're looking for other people's,
validation,
sort of like validation, rather than do it for themselves. And I can understand people that take supplements that want to be professional athletes, but just so that you look good at the pub, I think that you're not quite healthy upstairs doing that for other people's, approval. So you get those people that look so fit and so healthy and so strong, and they spend, 4 hours a day in the gym, but they're not necessarily mentally strong and healthy. So I think that you have to combine it. Like the martial arts symbol, yin and yang, where you've got hard, soft, light, dark, you've got balance. And I think that as we age, we need to create a balance.
How do we do that?
Break back to the spiritual essence. Yin and
that
yang.
is, yes, that's where I felt the spirituality kind of come back in again. So you're speaking like you've got either a process or some thoughts on this. Yeah. How do you do it yourself, and what do you recommend to others, and maybe men in your dojo? Men and women, yeah. Yeah, men and women.
Yeah, well, I've got most of my adult students, and I've got a very large adult population. Most martial arts schools have got 80% kids and 20% adults. Mine's more 50-50.
Great.
And most of my adults are 40 plus, and a good 40% of them in their 50s.
Actually, do you want to just give the name of your school?
Toodokan, Toodokan, Martial Arts Academy.
Toodokan Martial Arts Academy in
Southwest Sydney, Smeaton Grange, out near Camden,
Yeah, I just want to make sure you got a plug, because could be someone listening to this going, this is the sort
Thanks,
of thing
I've
I'm
got
interested.
a special at the moment. No, I'm just joking.
Set of steak knives.
Let me talk to you about that special. But yeah, look, so we got a lot of older, people that come there. This is my goal. Matt, let's just say, for argument's sake, you're 70, right? And you look fantastic for that.
I wish I was.
Mm-hmm.
I know. I wish I was 50 again, mate, let me tell you. But my goal for you, Matt, is to make sure that at 80, you're healthier, fitter, stronger, more agile, more flexible than you are today at 70.
Mm-hmm.
And Jace, if you're 40, we're not going to get you ready for 3 rounds in the ring or 5 rounds in the cage.
Mm-hmm.
I'm going to make sure that all those things that I spoke to Matt about just a second ago, you're fitter, stronger, healthier, happier, more agile, more flexible when you're 50 than you are today at 40. And that's our goal.
Is the word vitality come into play here? Because
of course it does.
Isn't that
because
when you're feeling
good, you feel you got so much energy, right? But here's the next thing. I've got so many older people in the dojo, in the martial arts school. It's important as we age, Matt, you'll know this. Jason, you will discover this.
Oh, yes.
You will discover it, that we still feel relevant, we still feel needed, and we still feel wanted. So let's say I've got and I do have a 70-year-old black belt.
Wow.
Yes.
And he's got some heart issues and so on. But when he comes into the school, the respect the young ones show him.
Oh.
Excuse me, Sir Sensei, can you please show me this? Can you show me that? If you were doing this, what? So he is at 70 still relevant, needed, and wanted.
Wow.
Now that on its own makes you more vital, gives you the energy to survive, and you've got a place you can go to where you still feel relevant.
Especially for men.
Especially for men.
Yeah, have I got a purpose here?
Yes.
I'm adding, I'm helping, I'm serving.
Yeah, do people still need me around? And I think that is what creates that ability to increase the longevity, stay relevant, be needed. And, I think it's so important.
Forgive me for interrupting. You're talking about longevity, and I'm in that zone. It's more about maintaining your self-respect, maintaining integrity, maintaining quality of relationships. And I keep harking back to the 60s where the Beatles sang, all you need is love.
Yeah, I agree.
And love is all you need. And when you learn to love yourself, you can love every other human being.
Yeah, that's true, mate. And there are no truer words spoken. And when you think about it, love is the most powerful emotion in the universe.
Yes, absolutely.
You wouldn't do anything for someone you hate, so hate's not that strong. But you would do anything for someone you love. And, that's what true karate is all about. The love of life, the love of self-discovery, the love of yourself, and then the love of educating and helping others.
Wow.
Right? I think that's what keeps you moving forward. It drives you.
So it's not just chopping boards.
That's right. And when we think about it, the mind and body are linked. So you've got to be doing some sort of physical activity to keep that brain working and to keep it moving. Regardless of what it is. Treadmill, no. Something intricate, something physical. Like, have you seen where karate people do kata?
No.
Right? So they do the prearranged karate moves,
Oh, yes, like the routine.
Tai Chi, it's a prearranged set of moves. So you're challenging the brain with intricate movement.
To remember.
So you're keeping those neuro pathways open.
Absolutely.
The same neuro pathways that you used when you were learning to ride a push bike, learning to walk, learning to ride a skateboard.
It's keeping relevant.
We stopped doing all that, and that's why the neuro pathways in the brain shut down and they close up, and your brain actually shrinks as you get older if you don't use it.
Strange.
And so,
same with your muscles.
Martial arts, even a slow-moving pace. Boxing, fantastic. You don't have to fight. You slip, you counter punch, you parry, you do all these amazing things. in unison with another human being. And so that's called brain training. And you're keeping that brain moving.
It's almost like a dance.
It is. And it's, shadow boxing. People say, why are you kata for karate? People shadow boxing for boxers. And that's what keeps you challenged mentally. And the two things, the body and mind, are linked. If you have depression, for example, a mental issue or illness, they give you a physical pill that helps with it. How can something in the mind be affected by a physical substance? And if you use it the other way around, by giving your body exercise and movement and challenging it with intricate physical technique, like kata, like shadow sparring, like self-defense moves when somebody grabs you, you're actually training the brain. You're keeping that going, right? So you can cure yourself of these things like depression and anxiety by doing physical movement, right? So these things that are mental, if you use the physical side, you can help as well.
I agree with that.
But also, too, the mental strength, you can change the body. Let me just tell you something. The body can't tell the difference between what is real and what is imagined. Jason, if you're sitting at home, Matt, you're sitting at home, and you're thinking about someone that you really, really are attracted to, your body starts to react as if that person's really in the room. But they're not in the room, but your body doesn't know that. So that gives you the evidence that the body will react to what you feed it, right? If you're at home and you think somebody's trying to break in, now you might put your head under the blankets and get your wife out of the bed or your girlfriend and get her to go and check the doors. But
that's if you haven't been to
that's called real manhood number one.
That's real manhood number one, right?
If you're that kind of guy, get down to Tudakan Karate Academy straight away.
You want equal rights, a lady? Excuse me, madam. No, but it's can I say that? No.
Yeah. But, yes, you can.
But it's like, but you get up and you walk around the house. You pick up your samurai sword that you've all got, I hope, beside your bed, right? And your pulse rate increases, your palms start to sweat, your core body temperature rises up, and your adrenaline starts to pump. And then you realize there was a branch against the window. It was just your imagination. That tells us the body cannot tell the difference between real and imagined. So use this to keep this young. That's how you redo that tank there, Matt.
Use the mind to keep the body.
Use the mind to get that tank moving again.
A quick question, John.
Sure, mate.
Do you have a branch of your karate organisation down in Melbourne?
No, unfortunately.
Just curious.
You want to be your new oldest student.
Yeah, well, I need to be the oldest student.
He would love it. He would love it. Like, I have been to the school and it's magnificent. In fact, let me just share this. So my son Cormac, who we have actually had on this podcast, he is a aspiring fighter, very fit, loves the physical side of it, and he's quite strong mentally as well. But I took him out to meet John, Dad. Took him out to the dojo. John graciously kind of met us over there. I wanted to show Cormac, the setup and introduce him to John. And John's just got such a good network in the fighting industry, and Cormac's keen on Muay Thai and what have you. So they got to meet each other, and John showed him around, and Cormac was suitably impressed. Beautiful facility out there. And then John, you don't know how much this meant to Cormac and certainly myself. You gave him a bunch of equipment, like the pads and various some gloves and a couple of other things that they needed for Muay Thai, and he's been using that a few times a week with his mate. They're practicing in the park until he can afford the lessons because he's busy with his jobs at the moment and what have you. So you've actually that again typifies your spirit, your generosity. Like you didn't need to do that for me, but I think you did that for him. Like that was my feel. Yeah, no, he expressed an interest and a passion. I really believe that martial arts is for me is the answer. But the ultimate exercise program in the world, bar none, is the one you'll do. Rather than not do. Yeah, rather than not do anything. Martial arts it literally saved my life. Wow. It's given me everything in life. So I really believe in it, and I'm passionate about it. And when I had a few health issues, the restaurants, the pub, the nightclubs, they went. But the martial arts, not the school, because that's who I am. Clubs and pubs, bars and security, that's what I did. Yep. So there's a difference between who you are and what you do. Wow.
And that could be another podcast. That could be another interview.
Absolutely correct. I agree with you.
I love that.
Yeah. A lot of people don't know who they are. They can tell you what they do, but they don't know the essence of who they really are. And I think that's what life's all about, discovering that and then sharing that with the people that you
and realizing that when all the layers strip away, we're all God. We're all we're all one expression of this infinite, universe, whatever you want to call it. We're all very, very much tied together. There was something that we mentioned at the very beginning, just before we started recording this podcast. You said you've got an event on tonight. I wouldn't mind, because this kind of talks to that whole idea of being in a community and serving, I guess, as well. But you talked about there's something going on at your dojo tonight. Give us a little bit of a background and what's happening there and why you're doing it.
Yeah, look, we're a family martial arts center, so I pride myself on not being focused on just fighters. We do have fighters that want to compete, but my big thing is martial arts for life and for living. And so tonight we've got what we call a parents' night out. So the parents can drop their kids to the school, have 4 hours where they take each other out for dinner and have a date night, or have some time off with the kids. And the kids go through, a whole bunch of, karate training, board breaking, games, and a lot of fun, a big pizza dinner. They watch a movie, martial arts orientated, of course.
Enter the Dragon? Yeah.
No, nothing. It'll be a kids' movie.
Okay.
No killing.
Bluey.
That's it. Oh, Bluey. I don't know about that, man.
No, they're a bit more sophisticated than that.
Then I wouldn't know who Bluey was. But yeah, and the parents get some time off, and then they come and pick their kids up, and the kids are so tired they sleep straight away. It's just a family night out basically, and the kids get a chance to mix with each other good kids. They develop bonds and relationships, and I'm happy to say that none of my kids have done that. Hanging out at shopping centres on a Thursday night, getting into trouble, and hitting the nightclubs hard and finding themselves doing drugs and that sort of thing. So I don't know one of my kids that's growing up that's done that. And
you've given them fortitude, like Dad said, grounding.
Different options, right? And different perspectives and different role models to look up to. Tonight I've got one of my 5-year-old kids bringing me their 10-year-old daughters, and I've got my 5-year-old kids bringing me their 11.
Sorry. Just so they're now parents.
The kids that I had when they were 5, are now bringing me their 5 and 6 and 7-year-olds. And so we've got so many parents on the sideline that were students when they were kids, bringing me their kids. And I had one dad bring me his son and goes, "I just want you to do what you did with me, kick him in the ass and get him a bit of discipline."
Love it.
Yeah, and I said, "Look, I don't teach like that anymore. I'd be sued. I wouldn't have any students.
Yeah.
They're all soft
The
now.
the bar has gone lower."
He goes, "You've got my permission to kick my son in the ass and get him up." So,
I like that. I really do.
But,
Well, obviously, what he's expressing,
that's what keeps me going.
you've given him so much. I guess maybe it's not the right word, but character, the sense of self, the sense of confidence that is hard to instill in a young male. It's hard it's hard to gestate that sort of just magically especially when you've got a working parents and technology. So you see that this training and this discipline of martial arts, as you said, it's for living, and it lasts you for life, doesn't it? Once it's instilled as a child.
Yeah. And I've got, I had 2 students in my boxing class this morning that had trained with me when they were 6 and 7. They stopped at 12 and 13. Now that they're parents, they're back again.
That's good.
So, yeah. And, I think it's great that they want to, the experience they had was so positive, they want to come back and do it again, or they want to bring their children and have the same experience they had. They were lucky enough to have when they were kids, So I think any form of martial arts, not just my school, but I think is great. There are schools that are a little bit more, experienced than others. Now, these days with YouTube, you've got a lot of YouTube instructors out there. So there's a martial arts school in every corner. But if you do a little bit of research and you find a good school, all martial arts, it doesn't matter about the style. They're all great, especially for our kids. But I think that adults should get more involved in it as well. you've all been to that point where you've gone, man, that guy really pissed me off. If only I had just done something. I feel like a piece of shit. I feel weak. I feel like
the courage.
If you can, the courage. But if you have the courage, you don't have to do anything. You'll have the right words. You walk away going, man, you know what?
You stay calm.
Yes, and you control the situation.
Control
but
yourself.
you don't feel bad about yourself for not doing anything, not even saying anything. If that makes sense.
Man, I've had a little old lady cut in front of me in the line at bloody Woolies before, and I've got all pissed off and didn't say anything. And but it's funny how we want to be polite and everything. But it's funny how you can find yourself in these situations where your inner voice says, I need to fix this. I need to intervene in the situation. I need to say something to this person. And there are potential risks involved in doing that. Yeah. But the more confident I am, the more sure of myself, the more grounded I am, the more I can not only say what I need to say in a kind, maybe a helpful way, but also be prepared for any of the ramifications, like the fear sort of takes a back seat.
But you don't have any regret.
You don't have
and that's
regret.
The last thing you want to be living with, regret over anything, whether it's a incident, a one-off incident, or whether it's decisions that you make in life. You want to make them from a position of wisdom, and I think that's what we develop. Okay, as we get older,
inner voice.
Listen to your inner voice.
Son, you brought up a very interesting point. The females in this world have an ability to listen to and both obey and use the inner voice, which the average male doesn't, even though he has the inner voice. He will believe in logic, or his version of logic. And I look back at my own life, the number of times the little voices said, don't do that. Don't do that, or I think you should do that. And I've processed it, and I thought, no, that's crap.
Doesn't make sense.
And I've fallen flat on my face. And the martial arts you're talking about is just one of many forms, and a very, very positive form of development to the point where you can hear the wisdom inside.
Yeah.
And then act or not act.
And it's also, look, and it does. Look, if let's say working the heavy bag, for example, you see boxers doing it, it's a lonely piece of equipment. You're on your own. You don't have a partner motivating you, and you're pounding into that thing for round after round. But it teaches you to get the job done. It teaches you to be self-reliant. And the underlying lesson there is nobody's coming to save you. Nobody's coming to do it for you. You have to put the work in. It's not going to be handed to you. It makes you self-reliant, right? And then when you are self-reliant, you can ask yourself, you rely on yourself to answer the questions that we have about life.
Yes.
And not look for the answers outside everywhere, and it's very important to know that we can, we have to sit down, we have to be wise enough and understanding enough and have enough self-belief to listen to ourselves.
Yes.
Rather than look for the answers where they're not. Or every answer to every question you've got's inside yourself. And that type of...
Couldn't agree more.
Thanks, Matt. And as we get older, we notice that. Wouldn't it be lovely to know all this in our 20s?
Don't remind me.
Yeah, you think that something like martial arts would be something, again, that they could introduce into the school curriculum, some sort of discipline. I know they've got their testing and meditation and for the attention and a few things to settle people's minds, but that sort of level of discipline and forthrightness that you're talking about, instilling that you want a successful country, you start getting that going in your schools.
It's a toughness that needs to be developed that's not there today.
No.
But just having enough experienced and qualified people to lead that off is the problem. It's like there's a shortage of those tradesmen, and
well, you're doing
there's a shortage of people who've dedicated a good portion of their life to an activity like martial arts, to have enough experience to want to do that, right?
John, you mentioned the word tradesman, and there is an old-fashioned now term called journeyman. And in the old days, the journeyman was the master who taught the tradesmen, who taught the apprentices.
Holder of the...
And that is not recognized today in any way.
No, the journeymen are dying off, and once they're all gone, mate, unfortunately, who knows what follows. It's like true masters of karate. These days, everyone's looking for the quick fix, the instant gratification. They look at YouTube. The instructors will even look that don't really believe in them. So look at YouTube to try and find something new to teach their students, so that the student thinks they know all this stuff. Yeah. And in reality, you don't need to do that. You just need to believe in yourself and teach, with passion and energy, right? And so once the masters that are the true guides, once they're gone, Matt, you're right. There's what's coming up. I don't know. The people don't have the patience. They're not contemplating life these days. They're contemplating, how can I make money on the internet, or make a new app, or sell something on on Temu,
or how can I look good?
How can I look good?
To many people, for whatever superficial reason.
For TikTok and Instagram, yeah. They're not contemplating life and how it can be lived, and how, we can improve, our mentality. Right?
And how life has challenges which we have to teach ourselves to be strong enough to deal with.
Yes, self-reliance, right?
What speaking of journey, man, what a journey from being a 3-year-old in the back of a station wagon, through to washing cars, doing lawns, through to study, you talked about menswear, and then martial arts coming into your life, and the journey from there right through to these insights, these great insights. And I can feel, I can sense, I can hear your passion for other people, because you've seen the good that it's done. And I hope you realize how much of that is you, right? How much you've given. And that's why your school has the energy and the vibration and keeps delivering. It is you, and I have so much respect and love for you, dude.
Thanks, mate.
You're a great guy, and you've made a big difference to a lot of people's lives. And absolute pleasure having you on the podcast. There's a lot more to talk about, but I think we got to start winding it up soon.
Save it for another day. Yeah, I've got to get down there and make sure these kids aren't destroying my school. From
everything you've said, John, I see your life as having been a life of service. First of all, to yourself, in order to survive when you were very young, and now you're still looking after and caring for other people and showing them how they can be better, which is a form of service. And it's a beautiful passion. It's something that I admire greatly.
Thanks, Matt. I really appreciate those words, mate. More than you know.
Well, gentlemen, what a fantastic conversation. It went better than I even thought. I knew that you guys would have a lot in common, and I really wanted to dive into that idea of that mental self-defense, and I got so many different perspectives on that from you through this chat. Thank you so much, John. I know you got places to be, people to see, kids to inspire, parents to maybe, glad to have a night off, so I gave some nookie.
Yeah, that's it, man. I mean, it's hard enough to get these days if you get on here, especially a couple of kids.
That's right. Yeah, that's right. It's hey, Johnny, you're responsible for our 3rd and 4th children. Thank you very much.
Man, I got to tell you that when I've got a couple of parents that bring their kids to me, and they said we met each other.
Oh, here we go.
At your bar, in your nightclub. And we've been dating ever since, and we've got these kids because of you.
Oh, there we go.
So you're responsible.
Karate there. You're responsible.
Did they give you 5 stars or?
I don't know about that, mate. I said, yeah.
I love it,
dude. All right, it's been a pleasure. Love chatting to you. We're going to let you go now, and stop by again on the Me&Him podcast. We'd love to have you.
Love to, mate. It's been a pleasure, a real honor. Thanks, guys.
Thank you so much for the privilege of your company. It's been exceptional.
Thank you. My privilege as well.
The Me&Him podcast. Well, it was so good to catch up with my mate John again. What a genuine human being. I really miss him just after that podcast. I want to go see him again.
I can understand that. I can relate to that, son.
He's just got a great energy, a great perspective on life. He's a great hospitalitarian. You and him, you get on. I mean, you obviously did get on like a house on fire.
Well, we've got similar values, except that I admire him because he's had greater challenges to overcome, and he's sharing the love with hundreds and hundreds of people. And I feel very humble because I've not done that. I've shared the love with a select few, and when I see someone who's doing it for hundreds, I go, oh, wow, that's amazing.
Yeah, well, don't undersell yourself there, Dad. Like, in terms of people that you've affected in a positive way, you've gone out of your way to, not just for your family to turn up to events across the world, but also to help those in need. You've got a very strong, generous streak, which is admirable in itself. And I think that's one of the reasons that you and John align. You understand the art of the whole purpose of giving isn't just to get something, it's to help people. So we've had that conversation. What a brilliant, some brilliant insights there. Let me ask you, what is it that you took away from this chat other than it would be good to catch up with them again?
I was in awe of a man who could overcome such a traumatic childhood in such a constructive way and rebuild himself from the ground up into something which is stunningly admirable. I mean, I was just blown away.
Yeah. I kind of thought the same thing. It was like this fire of adversity that he had to walk through, and that's almost, the fire has stayed burning, and now he's using that to assist others and lift others. And what a strong motivator. The one thing that came to mind throughout that whole conversation was that iceberg analogy. I think we mentioned in a previous podcast that 80-90% of what's driving you is underwater, but what people see is the very top of it, which is your talent and what your
the 10%.
Yeah, the offering,
which is often clouded by ego.
Well, that's right, and also it's clouded by I'm not sure what's driving me. So my situation was not having you around a lot and being in the middle of 3 children. I had to get noticed to get love. So I became quite adept at performing and being in front of people. In
the nicest sense of this word, you became a showman.
Yeah, exactly. And I wondered, as I got older and I got more mature, I wondered why I wasn't giving me the same sort of satisfaction. And then when I had either a breakdown or breakthrough, I can't remember which one, maybe both simultaneously, I realized that the bottom of that iceberg was me wanting to be validated. And it was the wrong driver. And so I flipped the driver to, if I could make one person smile, or I could help one person, that's the only feedback I need, that I've helped one person.
Absolutely.
I changed the driver. And I think for John, his driver is so pure. The bottom part of that iceberg is so pure and so good, but it's still probably imbued with the hardships of what it took to get out of that situation as well. But people see that he's a great karate martial arts expert. They don't understand what's sitting underneath that, all of the work and the challenge.
Well, what I got out of that, and this is in relation to what you're saying, is here we have a beautiful, fully formed human being. Doesn't matter what the sex is, a fully formed human being, having come from such austere and deprived a background, and using skills which it took him probably 20 years to recognize when he looked back, to survive. And keep the family going and provide some op-shop clothes for him and his siblings to go to school or whatever. I mean, this is a tale of someone who is at rock bottom as a child and has managed to pull himself up by his bootstraps.
Yeah, I agree.
Wow.
Yeah, well, there are a lot of awesome people out there, and I think it's just a reminder that no matter who we know in our community or in our environment and what we may think of them, there's always so much more to the story that unless you're asking questions and creating space to hear, and you can't really fully understand the context of someone and what drives them, and also how beautiful they actually are to arrive at this time of their lives and be the person they are despite what they've had to go through.
And you know where the starting point is, son?
What's that?
Cleaning your ears and keeping them open so that you can actually hear the information and process it. Now, I mean, that's partly physical, partly metaphorical, but we need to sidestep the ego in many situations like this in order to get the correct information and understanding.
Love it, love it, love it. All right, well, I think we've done our dash. I've got to take a beautiful woman out to dinner, and what are you up to?
I'll be slogging my guts out till about 3 a.m.
Cooking, preparing for your big feast with your audio mates tomorrow?
Yes, and also tidying the space that I live in.
Oh, right.
So that they can move comfortably through it.
Okay.
As opposed to trade through piles of papers and rubbish.
Yes, I've seen those. Well, good luck with that. I think my night will be a bit more enjoyable than yours, but I hope you have a fun time tomorrow.
We will, son, but it's like the beginning of every meal, and this is meant metaphorically, is about the preparation.
Yep.
Once you get the preparation right,
the rest is downhill.
The rest is uphill. It's because the cooking process is not where it's at. The preparation process is where it's at. And life is like that. You have to get the groundwork done before you can move to the next stage.
Well, look, with those words of wisdom, we better end it there because that's so deep and meaningful. Thank you for your company. Thank you for your conversation. And I'm so glad we got to have a good chat with John. Looking forward to the next episode.
So am I.
Yeah? All right.
Yeah.
Same bat channel, same bat time.
All right.
Bye.
Thank you, son.
The Me&Him podcast.